Alright, yeah! Thank God for fantasy football. I'm Buster Brown and the show is called Redemption Rehab. Today, we're taking a look at the weekly waiver wire report. People are getting hurt in the NFL. You have bye weeks coming up. You've got holes in your roster. Well, guess what? We're here to help you get those holes filled so you can win your championship in 2023. So buckle up, get out your popcorn, let's head over to the chalkboard,
and let's check out the facts.
Here we are checking out the waiver wire for week 10 of the NFL season, starting with this guy, Tank Dell. Tank Dell's a wide receiver for the Houston Texans. He caught 6 passes for 114 yards and 2 touchdowns on 11 targets. If you get a chance and he's still on your waiver wire, go get him, put him in your lineup. His teammate Noah Brown, wide receiver for the Houston Texans, also had a good game. He had 6 catches for 153 yards and a 75-yard touchdown on 6 targets. If you get a chance to put Noah Brown on your roster, you should consider picking him up. And their teammate Dalton Schultz, he had a big game too. He had 10 catches for 130 yards and 1 touchdown on 11 targets. He's a tight end for the Houston Texans. If you get a chance to get him on your waiver wire, get him in your lineup. Speaking of the Houston Texans, the guy that everybody's going to go after this week is CJ Stroud. Last week, he was 30 of 42 for 470 yards and 5 TDs. They play the Bengals this week. Last week, he set an NFL rookie record. Now that throws him into the Rookie of the Year conversation, and he looks mighty good. You should pick up CJ Stroud and put him in your lineup next week. Other quarterbacks we like, Josh Dobbs, he got traded to Minnesota. Jaron Hall, the starter, got hurt early, so they had to throw Josh Dobbs in there, and he was 20 of 30 for 158 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also ran the ball 7 times for 66 yards and another touchdown, and he never even took one practice with any of the players. Go out and get yourself some Josh Dobbs and get him in your lineup for the Minnesota Vikings. Another quarterback we like, we've been talking about Baker Mayfield for weeks. Once again, 21 of 30 for 265 yards and 2 touchdowns. They play the Tennessee Titans. Their secondary's not very good, so he should have another good game. Speaking of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, how about tight end Cade Otton? He finally had a breakout game. 6 catches for 70 yards and 2 touchdowns on 9 targets. If you get a chance, go out and get yourself some Cade Otton. Another tight end we really like, we talked about all year, is Cole Kmet of the Chicago Bears. He plays Carolina on Thursday. Last week he had again 6 catches for 55 yards and another 2 touchdown day on 8 targets. If you get a chance, go out and get yourself some Cole Kmet. He plays on Thursday and he does have a sore knee, so make sure he's available. Other tight ends we like, how about Jonnu Smith? We've been talking about him for weeks. Once again, with Drake London hurt, he had 5 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown on 6 targets for the Atlanta Falcons. We talked about Luke Musgrave. They play the Pittsburgh Steelers this week. He was 3 for 51 and a touchdown last week on 4 targets. And we finally got a good game out of Hunter Henry of the New England Patriots. They play the Colts. He was 4 for 39 yards and a touchdown on 7 targets. And for weeks, once again, we've been talking about Jake Ferguson of the Dallas Cowboys. He had another amazing game, 7 catches for 91 yards and a touchdown on 10 targets. You should have went out and got yourself some Jake Ferguson. We've been talking about him for weeks. If you need yourself a running back for you, everybody's going to go out try to get this guy, but I'm not sure the juice is worth the squeeze. If you look on the depth chart of the Baltimore Ravens, J.K. Dobbins is out for the year. Gus Edwards is starting running back, and Justice Hills is backup. But because they were blowing out the Seattle Seahawks at home, Keaton Mitchell got a chance to play. He ran the ball 9 times for 138 yards and a touchdown. He also had a 60-yard run in there. They play the Cleveland Browns. I wouldn't spend a lot of money on him, but he might be worth a roster spot, especially if you have Gus Edwards on your team. Other running backs I like, and you should look to see if they're available on your waiver wire. Leonard Fournette's on their practice squad. He signed last week for the Buffalo Bills. Don't expect him to play anytime soon, but he will, and he will play well. Go get him. Put him on your roster. We've been talking about Zach Charbonnet of the Seattle Seahawks. He's the handcuff to Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker gets hurt a lot, and if he does, Zach Charbonnet is going to get a lot of playing time. Some wide receivers you should keep your eye on. How about Quentin Johnson over there at the Los Angeles Chargers? Man, they're running out of people to throw the ball to over there against the Jets. Good defense. He had 2 catches for 14 yards on 3 targets. He's a rookie that we talked about in our NFL draft preview shows back in April before the NFL draft. If you get a chance, check out those shows. We talked about Quentin Johnston, and I'll tell you what, he's going to be a player someday. He just might not be ready for prime time today, but I expect him to play well towards the end of the season. And don't forget about Zay Jones. He's coming back from injury for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's probably on a lot of people's waiver wire. I'd go up and scoop him up on my waiver wire. And don't forget about Khalil Shakir over at Buffalo. We talked about him last week. He went out against the Bengals, caught 4 passes for 57 yards on 4 targets. Those of you that might need a defense, we're talking about the Dallas Cowboys. They're probably not on your waiver wire, but if you like daily fantasy football, you got to have the Cowboys in there. The Giants, they're playing a backup quarterback, Tommy DeVito, local hometown hero. And if you need a good kicker, hey man, it's time to start thinking about kickers for the playoffs in your league. If you can go out and get Young Hoo Koo of the Atlanta Falcons, he kicks indoors last week. He was 4-4, kicked a 54-yard field goal. If you get a chance to get Young Hoo Koo of the Atlanta Falcons, I'd go out and get him.
Okay, there you have it. That's another weekly waiver wire report for Fantasy Football Redemption Rehab in the books. I'm Buster Brown. The show is called Redemption Rehab. Good luck.